Hey y'all, happy Thursday. This morning we are going to be talking about the edge that you need, right? If you are in a lead role and you're wanting to advance, or even if you're thinking about trying to land a lead position, it's going to be a live stream for you. Okay, because having to lead, and this is a thing, not just a team, but overall is a whole nother ballpark on its own. And I want to be able this morning to share you some tips and gems on just how you can really get that edge, right? My name is Alicia and I help leaders lead their careers. But if you rock with me every week, go ahead and say good morning. Don't be rude. Go ahead and say good morning because I know that you guys are going to enjoy this live stream. Okay. Now, you guys know I always say that if you are sensitive, go ahead and hit the X, right? But if you like a little bit of tough love, right? If you do believe in and you doing the self-work, if you're in a place now where you are ready to get to that next level and you are trying to fill those gaps, or friend, come in and enjoy yourself. So like I said, I want to talk to you guys today about being able to get that leadership edge. So if you are currently in a leadership position, is the lead role that you hold. And if you are wanting to get into those lead roles, hey, good morning. I got my YouTube, I got my TikTok. Hey, Miss Annette, good morning. Hey, Miss Dana, good morning, good morning, good morning. So I definitely want to go ahead and hop in and talk about this morning, right? Because it's changing. Yeah, times are changing. They're changing, right? And when you think about the job market now, it is competitive. So if the job market is competitive, I want you to know that the workplace is. Now, when I say competitive, I don't want you guys thinking that I want you to be in some kind of fight or race with anybody. When I say competitive, what I'm talking about is that I want you guys to start thinking about ways, excuse me, hold on one second. Sorry about that. About ways that you guys can really stand out in the workplace, and not just stand out for the sake of standing out, but start thinking about what are things that you need to do to start to put yourself in a position that you can be a competitive candidate. Okay, this is if you are trying to look for a job or not, because that is just where we are now, right? And again, I don't want you to make it seem like I want you to be in a race with nobody, but you need to start thinking about what are ways that you can make yourself be seen as top talent, because that is what's going to allow you to move towards your goals, and it's going to allow you to receive the top pay that you should have, right? So this morning, I want to talk about the edge that you need, and that edge is going to be talking about soft skills, because a lot of y'all are amazing in your expertise, right? You know your craft, you know your field, right? Skills is top notch, right? But when it comes to those soft skills, right, they sometimes be looking a little raggedy, right? Or they're not as strong as they should be. So I definitely want to come this morning and tell you guys about 4 soft skills that is going to allow you to get the edge that you need, right? That is going to allow you to be able to operate in your expertise and be able just to make more of just bring forth more results in the work that you do. If you are ready to learn about those top 4 soft skills that leaders need to have, okay? So the first one that I want you guys to know about, and you guys know I always come with notes because I'm not going to waste your time on this live stream just trying to pull stuff from the air. So I do have notes, okay? So the first one, soft skill that I want you guys to see, this is something that you need to work on or have, is empathy, right? Now, I did not say sympathy, I said empathy, okay? Now, sympathy is when you just feel sorry for somebody, right? Empathy is when you can really relate and get in tune with how they feel, right? So it's not just a feeling that I feel sorry for them, right? It's not just saying, that's so sad to hear. No, it's like you're really able to connect and really feel what the other person feels. And I'm not saying that you feel it to the point of where, it's starting to cause harm to you or it's starting to overwhelm you. What I am saying is that you are just able to really connect with the people around you. And if you are in a leadership position, this is going to be key, right? Because, with you being able to have empathy, guys, right? This helps you to understand diverse perspectives, right? This allows you to like get out of that like little bitty world that you live in. Because sometimes, and y'all, I'm the same way, right? Sometimes we can find ourselves living in like this little bitty world that's this big, right? And any kind of idea, anything outside of that, like anybody else's way of seeing things that is outside of this world that we can just stay in, right? We can sometimes see that as a threat, and it's not a threat, right? But when you can start to really relate, right, to the people that you work with, to the people on your team, that's going to allow you to be able to see, a world beyond yours. And it's going to really allow you to be able to connect and engage with them, right? And this is going to be really important because even with the clients that I work with, they sometimes say, especially when you start to move into those really high rank roles, they'll start saying stuff like it feels very lonely at the top, right? They start feeling like, because of the role that they hold and the shots that they have to make, they feel like it's lonely, meaning that it's hard for them to even relate to anybody who they work with. And I really believe it's because they do lack that soft skill, empathy, right? Because, when you allow yourself to just draw in, right? And you're not looking for ways to engage with people or even maybe see things on the side that maybe you've never seen before. You really start to have your own self in this box because you're not allowing yourself to get that human connection that we need. And I really believe that everybody, like I just believe that this is just the way that we was built. You need that human connection on some like way. Like for instance, and I'm about to do just a little Bible study for 15 seconds. It's like when the world first started, right? It was man all by himself, right? And God said what? It is not good, right? He didn't think that it was good for him to even be here alone, right? And I say that because, again, I do believe in some capacity that we do need some kind of human interaction. And when I say interaction, not just saying, hey, bye, but being able to engage with other humans on some way. So when you when you find yourself in your job and you have now allowed yourself to be in this box alone, it can get lonely. And sometimes you can start to feel like you do not like your job or you do not like who you work for. And that's just because you have pulled yourself away from the people that you work with, right? And I believe a lot of this happens a lot because, we have taught ourselves, especially in like very high stress roles, right? When you are in like high stress spaces, you can find yourself having to build up walls, right? But you do that as a way to just keep yourself safe, right? And I say that because in these high stress roles, when there is a whole lot of things happening, right? What you should be doing is trying to engage with the people around you, right? But what tends to happen, like I said before, we just build up these walls, right? And this is, for one, it can allow the people that we work with to not really know us, right? But they start seeing a side of us, right? And it's not really who we are, but it's just who we feel like we need to be in order to just get through work. Say it again. Sometimes you can find yourself being a certain way at work. It is not really who you are, but it's just who you feel like you need to be in order to get through that work day, right? And for one, you allow the people that you work with to miss out on how amazing you are, right? To miss out on how much just how much value you bring. And the value is not just in your expertise, guys, right? That is some of the value, but simply who you are, simply who you like, just simply how you can respond to things, just simply your vibe, right? Can bring value. But when you find yourself in these high stress roles and you keep feeling like you have to detach yourself in order to get through your work, the people around you won't have the opportunity to experience you in the way that they should, right? And two, when you are so focused on having to shut down or having to withdraw to keep you safe, right? You're not fully able to engage in your expertise and you're not able to engage in your work. And that does affect the results that you bring forth, right? And so even with that, I want you to start thinking about, right? Have you really tried to engage with the people around you? When I say engage, I'm not talking about, you sharing your whole life with them, right? What I mean is that you being able to, like, it's almost like you are trying to bring yourself to a place to where you are not trying to look for reasons to withdraw, but you're wanting to look for reasons to engage. And y'all, guess what? This also helps with imposter syndrome. You being able to engage with the people around you is going to help you with that. So for all of you people who struggle with that, when you start to really connect with the people that you work with, for one, that's going to allow you to see that 9 times out of 10, all y'all are dealing with the same things. And two, it's going to allow you to and sometimes it allows you to also see, again, like I was saying, the value that you bring, because a lot of times you will struggle with feeling like you don't have enough. It's because you have not engaged enough around you to see what are those gaps that you really fill in and what is the value that you bring. And so, a lot of people that struggle with that, it's because they're not allowing their full selves to actually be seen, right? And I know that goes into, a whole other live stream, but I want you guys to start thinking about what you want, right? That sometimes you can see yourself being a certain way in here, and sometimes you'd be like, wow, like it almost seems like it's a far-fetched thing. But in most cases, when you could just step outside of those walls that you built, that's going to allow you to become the person that you know that you want to be. Because what holds us back a lot of times is that we just, for one, you feel like you think, or let me say this, you feel like you know what other people think about you. And a lot of times it's not true, right? So you having a mindset of what you think other people see you as, that can stop you from being able to go all in on your expertise. And then two, when you are living in this fear of you have to do everything right. But again, it's going back to empathy, because with that, it's not about you being perfect. It's not about you having yourself in a space to where you don't make any mistakes. It's simply about you are trying to connect and engage with the people that you work with. So then it takes off this weight off of your shoulders, that you are not trying to be seen as one who always, just gets things right. But you are now being seen as somebody who truly wants to engage and learn and connect with the people that you work with. So that was the first soft skill that you guys really need to be thinking about, if that was helpful. Now, soft skill 2 is, and I'm going to drink some water on this one. Soft skill 2 is feedback. Being able to accept feedback. Now, you don't have to be honest, but if you want to, right? If you sometimes struggle with being able to accept feedback and struggle, and when I say struggle, I mean not necessarily that it makes you upset, but sometimes you may just internalize it too much, right? So if you sometimes struggle with being able to accept feedback, okay? Now, you in leadership positions, this is a crucial cornerstone, right? Because you should be seeing feedback as data, right? Not as criticism. It's not that. It is data. Now, I do understand that you cannot take everybody's feedback, right? Because some people, for one, they don't know how to give feedback, right? They will sometimes use that as an opportunity to throw shots. I get it. And sometimes people will give you feedback based upon what they are insecure about, or based upon them wanting you to be like them. And that is the most dangerous type of manager that you can have. And I might do a live stream on that. I don't know. Because there are some people that will give you feedback, not because they see gaps that can stop your success, but they want you to be like them, right? And when you have a manager that has set the mark as themselves, meaning that what success looks like is what I would do, child, that's a whole gumbo, right? Because now that feedback is misconstrued. It's just not real, right? Because it does not come out of a place of, I see things that you may need to, like, let me say this. It's not coming from a place of gaps that needs to be filled that's going to stop your success overall or the success that you have in the role, but they simply just feel like the only version of success is them. Again, I don't want to get into that because it gets deep. So I do understand that you cannot take everybody's feedback, right? But you have to be able to, with the whole concept of feedback, you need to be able to see it as data. Now, what will stop you from seeing it as data is, for one, if you got a ego, right? And the people that have a ego are the people that have something to prove. And you guys know, if you follow me for any amount of time, I say all the time, you cannot build your career trying to prove yourself. It is impossible, because your focus is not on you mastering anything. It's on you trying to convince, and you cannot master anything, right? Trying to convince somebody. The only way that you can get to a level to where you can really master something is when you are focused and you are able to really dive deep into something and you have already validated yourself. If you're still looking for somebody else to validate you, you can't master nothing. You can't, right? Because your focus is on, I wonder if this is being done right because they will think this, or no, I can't do this because they will think that, or this thing could go wrong, and if it go wrong, then they will think this about me. You are looking for validation, which takes your focus off of being able to master your expertise. And my friend, that is going to stagnate your growth, and that is going to stagnate your pay. And I've seen this need for validation at all levels with the clients I work with, all levels, right? And again, if you are one that you don't have a strong sense of self, you don't have a strong sense of your self-worth, you don't have a strong sense of who you are outside of your expertise, outside of your work, outside of the applause that you get. If you don't have a strong self of sense outside of all of those external things, you will be one that cannot take feedback. You will always see it as a blow, a shot. You will always see it as you have now been knocked back 3-4 steps. But when you're looking at feedback needs to be, this is an opportunity to get data, right? To see if what I am doing, if it works, to see if I need to make some tweaks, to see if I need to be more self-aware so I can tap more into my expertise. That's all that it is, right? And if you are one that is afraid to see, right? I mean, afraid to receive feedback. A lot of times it could be because you are afraid of being vulnerable. When I say vulnerable, what I mean, like afraid of being exposed, afraid of, folks to see a weak side of you. And I say weak, right? But it makes you feel a certain way when, you are not seen as perfect. Now, this is the thing. We say all the time, that, you don't have to be that way. Like we say all the time that, let me say this. We are aware that you make mistakes, right? This is not something that's far-fetched from us. But why does it hurt us when we make one? And when I say hurt us, I mean, why do we feel like something has been removed from us when we make a mistake? It's because there's a certain level in our mind that we have told ourselves that we have to get everything right. And when we don't, we start feeling like that's saying something about me, right? But I really believe that when you start to really take on the mindset of growth and you really start leaning more into, again, I'm not trying to prove anything, but I am trying to master something. And in the process of me trying to master something, I know that I may not get everything right. And also, you should be expecting feedback. You should be looking for somebody to come and say, hey, this was great, but you can do this in a much faster way. And when you're not looking for that, when you feel secure, when nobody is trying to show you something, that lets me know that there are a lot of blind spots that you have. And this happens a lot of times when I have friends that I talk to and their boss is not hands-on with them, right? They rarely hear from their boss, right? They rarely have one-to-ones, and they think, oh, I got it made. Do you? Do you? But I also believe that shows a lack of maturity. Now, I said before, if you are sensitive, go ahead and log off now, right? The only people that I know that are happy when feedback is not around or there is nobody there to maybe come and instruct them are children. Again, if you are sensitive, log off now. Now, okay, look, the only people that I know that feel free, that feel happy whenever they don't have anybody around to instruct them are children, right? But as you mature, again, this goes back to mastery. And a lot of the clients that I work with, they want to master, right? They want to get better, right? They understand that feedback is going to speed up my growth. It is going to speed up my success. They understand that, right? But children, when there are no adults around, say adults, right? And they can be free and just do whatever they want to do, and they don't have anybody to tell them anything. Child, they're happy. They are living their best life. But when you come to a level of maturity, you want somebody to intercede, somebody to say, hey, you are doing great, right? But again, it does take a level of maturity for that, right? Exactly. I said somebody say it's a gift, right? And if you are having to lead a team, you got to be able to accept feedback from somebody that has less authority than you. You have to be able to accept feedback from somebody that has authority, who has less authority than you, and be able to receive it and understand that it does not take anything from you. Again, right? Because you're not trying to prove to your team that you are the boss, right? That you are the smartest. I don't know why I'm using so many quotations this morning. Right? That you are the smartest on the team. Because what you are trying to do is you are trying to get your team to meet those goals, right? You are trying to get your team to meet those benchmarks, right? You are trying to bring forth results in whatever process that looks like. So if the process of being able to bring forth results means that you need to get feedback on something, meaning that your team may see that, you know what, this could be done again in a faster way, in a leaner way, in a more productive way. Hey, the goal is to meet these results. The goal is to bring forth these results. The goal is not that you look like you are Miss Perfect. That's not the goal of this. And once you remove yourself, and this is why I said having a big ego is something that stops you from being able to accept feedback. But your goal should be, hey, I want to be able to bring forth these results with my skills. I desire to serve with my skills and feel good about it, right? That's the result. Not that you was able to bring forth a result and you didn't need any feedback and you got everything right that first time. Child, that's not the goal. And this is why when you are in leadership positions, the less it becomes about you. Because I don't know if I'm the only one, but I have worked with a self-serving boss and it was exhausting. It exhausted our team. It drained our team because the goal was not to allow us to all work in a flow and a good vibe and for us to feed off each other's strengths. The goal was that we did this in a way that was going to make her look good. And child, that is exhausting. We had the highest turnover rate because the success was more about her than it was about the overall team. And I know that we have worked with a boss or could be working with a boss like that. It's exhausting, right? And even again, because there are lead positions where you do not have to lead a team, you may have to lead a certain space. It's the same thing, right? Because 9 times out of 10, what you do is going to affect the other people who work there. So if it's only about you getting a shine, getting a glow, getting the applause, if it's only about that, then it's going to be hard to work with you. Now, that was my little tough love spiel, right? So I want you guys to start thinking about, and again, I really think all of these that I'm going to talk about today really does go back to, you got to validate yourself outside of this stuff, right? You got to validate yourself outside of this stuff, knowing who you are, right? Knowing who you are without having nothing to prove. My husband, he is the head of the house. He doesn't have to prove that. It is what it is. And because he does not have to prove that he is head of this household, right? He's able to treat me with respect and love, and he is able to serve me because he's already validated himself. You know, a lot of time with these husbands, they be trying to put their foot down on stuff and they going above and beyond. It's because they have not yet validated themselves. And the way that they validated themselves is them trying to run something, right? Rather than looking for ways to serve and love and show respect. And I don't know how I got on that. I think somebody on this live stream needed that. On this live stream, they really need to hear that, right? And it's the same way with you in your role. You have the job, friend. You have the job title. You have the role. They hired you, love. It's yours. I want you to go to work every day feeling like you got to fight for it. Because again, what all of this does is it keeps you off of being able to make the impact and the income that you desire. So the first one was being able to have empathy. 2 was being able to accept feedback. 3 is being able to adapt. And y'all, this I'm gonna be honest, this can be a hard one. And it's hard for me because I like structure. Okay. Sometimes, and again, I'm working on this. I've gotten good at this, but I'm not as great at this as I want to be. Because sometimes for me, change can almost put a red flag in my mind as chaos. Like sometimes when I see change, when I see things change, I'm like, ooh, this is chaotic, right? Right. Because I like structure. I feel safe with structure. I feel safe with, steps and rules and processes. It makes me feel safe, right? And so when things just happen to change, I'm like, okay, hold on, what's going on? What's wrong? Right? So sometimes change will say, okay, there's something wrong. But sometimes change doesn't happen because there's something wrong. Change happens because there's something good happening, right? And I'm the same way. I like my structure. But, when there's a need for change, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong happening. And I have to tell myself this, right? Even I'm my own business, guys. I've been in business almost 4 years full time. And this is why I'm telling you, I've been here. But there are some things in my business that I've had to make changes on because good things were happening. Like I had to get to a point where with my clients, I can only serve like 3 a month, right? Meaning like I'm able to really focus and serve each one of them without being overwhelmed. So, my cap is like 3 to 4 a month. But at one time, I had like 12 guys. Like I was like losing my mind. And so I had to put a cap on that. But that allowed me to have to be able to create more services that was going to allow me to serve more on a larger scale and not burn myself out. So of course, that was a good thing, right? Because things were starting to grow, right? And I want you to even think about that on your job. Now, some of y'all experience change because it is chaos in your workplace. I would never take that from you, right? But as a leader, you got to be able to understand it, and even being able to understand the field that you in, because depending on the field that you in, that can cause for abrupt changes all of the time, right? We think about healthcare, we think about tech, these things. It's like always new trends and things happening. So you got to be able to adjust quickly, right? And you have to know that you being able to adapt, you can't just see it as a skill to survive. But you have to know that you have to be able to see it as a way to be creative, right? Meaning that when change comes, it can allow you to stretch your expertise. It can allow you to operate out of the bounds that you're usually in. And it can allow you to see that you have a lot more strengths and skills than you think that you do, right? So I don't want you to start thinking that, when you have to make a change in something, that means that again does not take anything from you. But it is about what is the attitude that you have when you have to adapt, right? Is it something that has to be forced upon you? Is it something that you kind of, okay, it is what it is, I understand, but the whole time you got to kick and scream, right? Because again, being in a leadership position is about being able to maintain control, not just control over what is happening around you, but being able to control your emotions and your responses, right? Being able to understand that you don't just lead people into projects and tasks, you lead them into how they should respond to certain things. I had a client I was working with, and she was having some issues with her team. She felt like her team, like she felt like she really didn't get the response from her team that she would like, right? She felt like her team would just do things because that was just their job and they had to do it. But she really wanted to engage her team more. And so I just started to ask her to, like, just explain sometimes that she has to maybe deal with hard things outside of like not with her team, but just her. And child, she started sharing things with how she had respond to certain things and whatever. I said, "Oh, it sounds like you respond in the same team in the same way that they." She looked at me, she started smiling. She's like, "Absolutely right," because you are training your team to do something, right? You are training your team at all times, and a lot of times they will respond off of things the way that you respond. So if you don't like change, if you don't like when things are flipped upside down out the blue, and when your plan that you spent so much time on is not being used or didn't go forth the way that you think that it should, when it happens to them, they will also respond the same way. Right. And so I want you to even start think about that. Like, what is the example that you are setting before your team? And you don't just have to use this concept in leadership positions, just overall, y'all. Your response, how you behave, how you respond, it does impact the people around you. This is why I say all the time, your character is going to bring you further than your skills ever will, ever, right? And nobody likes to work with what's I had a word I want to use, but Lord, I would shut the internet down if I said it. But let me say this. Nobody wants to work with anybody that is resistant to change, because that trait, it makes you hard to work with, and it makes you hard to connect with, because when you don't like change, what you are really saying is things have to be done my way, even if you did not set the way, right? But you have established that I like this way, I like how this goes, why does this have to change? So you have now started to adapt that as your way. And it is impossible to instruct, to coach, to lead, to inspire, to bring vision, to teach the vision, to bring everybody on one mind when it's all about you. Again, I really feel like all of these soft skills, they just link up, right? It's impossible to make the impact when it has to always be about you. And that is what you're saying when you're saying that you don't like change. And I'm telling you, I just told you I struggle with this myself, right? So I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you, because I'm also talking to myself the same that I'm talking with you about this, right? When you don't like change, you are really saying that, hey, it's about what I want. And sometimes what you want is not for the overall good of the team. Sometimes what you want, it makes you comfortable, right? But it can make everybody else uncomfortable. Now I'm not talking about compromising on your values, or that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when it comes to just how things are done at work, different processes, different steps, and things of that sort, right? And so you can have a hard time with this, like I said before, if you are comfortable in what's familiar, if that is your safe space, right? If the only way that I feel safe is if I know what is happening and I know what is going to happen, I have mapped this out, I have been through this process so many times, I know this way upside and down. So now you feeling safe is not in, for one, God, but hey, that's me. It is not in your expertise. It is not in the fact that you always bounce back. You always rise, right? You always make a way out of no way. It's not in that. It's in that, no, I know how this is supposed to go. Right. And when you are so focused on and you're so bent on things having to go that one way, you are missing out on a beautiful opportunity to grow your expertise and to learn new things about you. Right. And so, I don't want you to rely on what's safe. I want you to rely on that you always know that you always come out on the other side. In these comments, I'm just now, okay. That's so true. When things change, I think something is going wrong and chaos is about to start. I'm the same way. Sometimes it's not resistance to where I don't want to change. Sometimes it's about being able to wrap my head around how the change affects my responsibilities. Oh, and that is a very good point, right? But how can I put this? But I want you to see in the comment that that is what it is, though, because you said sometimes it's not a resistance to where I don't want to change. So you're saying that the resistance is not that I don't want to change, but then you said it's trying to wrap your head around how that change looks. But that's kind of is very close to being the same thing, right? Because when it's hard to wrap your head around what that change is going to look like, it still is a fear of, right, it not being your way, right? And again, that way can be in all types of things, right? And so, and that's why I was just saying how you being sure it can't be in when things are or when things look a certain way. It has to be in, I know how to bounce back. I know how to find the answers for something that I don't know. I know how to learn a new thing, right? And so, and this is going to be really important. It's so important for growth because you never really know what is going to come your way, especially when you're working with people, y'all. People are very complex. Like some things that you would think that would come natural to people, it don't, right? It don't. And I say this like with you having to work with different personalities, different ideas, you have different backgrounds, beliefs. It's a lot, right? And so with that, because that complex of you having to work with people is so much and is so in depth, it's hard to be able to think that you know what the change is going to look like, or even you may not even know how it's going to impact you. And so this is why it's good that when you are trying to think about what the change could be, there's nothing wrong with you trying to explore in your mind. But sometimes you can't always prepare for how that change is going to impact you, right? But what you can do and you can understand is that you are able to bounce back from anything, right? So the last soft skill, so the first soft skill was you being able to have empathy. 2 was being able to take feedback. 3 was being able to adapt. And 4, influence. And I really think how you even get influence is when you can get those 3 soft skills, like those first 3, right? And this is crucial when you are in leadership positions. And if you're not in a leadership position, this is how you can get the authority as if you were in one. Learning influence, and not just influence, but authentic influence, right? This is what brings that genuine connection. Like this is the glue to your expertise and to your success, is being able to influence the people that you work with. Now again, because people think in order to influence the people that I work with, they have to like me. That's not true, right? Now I'm not saying, I think you need to be likable, but not to the point of where you're thinking that you have to be somebody who you're not. That's not what I'm saying, right? But what I am saying is that you can have a level of influence and they don't necessarily have to be your best friend. They don't even necessarily have to agree with everything that you say, right? But I think the base of influence is respect, right? For them to respect your expert. Oh, I'm burping so much, excuse me, y'all. For them to be able to have a level of respect for the expertise that you have, right? For them to understand that what you do comes from a pure place. And when I say a pure place, I mean it is not self-driven, right? But it really is about the success as a whole, right? And, when you're able to do this or have this in a really authentic way, it's going to allow you to enjoy your job so much more, right? Because for one, I have clients that I work with, right, and they lead teams in there, and some are always concerned about I don't want it to seem like I am coming off as a boss, like I'm the one that's always trying to just make things happen, or you know they are fear of not trying to be too hard on the team, right? But it's like you won't have to feel this way if you learn how to have influence with them, right? And a lot of times this can happen with kids, right? Once your kids reach a certain age, and I'm not saying all kids, because child, I know some kids is out of their mind, right? But there are a lot of kids, like once they reach a certain age, right? They start getting around 15, 16, 17 years old. Again, I'm not saying that these kids, it's just they good all the time. What I am saying is that once you build a certain relationship with your child, you may feel like, you don't have to necessarily be as hard or use extreme consequences to get them to do what you need them to do. Why? That's because you have built influence with them. And a lot of times that influence does come from you being able to connect with your child outside of just the chores and do this, do that. But you have been able to find some ground with them where you could really engage with them, right? And the fact that they have received advice from you in the past and it always works out. So that has built a level of trust, which now allows you to influence them, meaning that even as they get, grown and got kids, they'll still come back with you, and you still have a way to get them to do what you want. I'm not saying in a bad way. What I'm saying is that your word can still move them because of the influence that has been built over the years, because the relationship with your child was not just built upon do what I say. Now that was a word, okay? But that relationship has been built on trust. It has been built on not you trying to prove to your child that you are the boss, but it has been you being able to teach them and instruct them in a way that they understood. Even when they didn't agree, they understood that this was for their good. You can literally translate that into the relationship with your team, right? Not you trying to prove to them that you are the boss, but you being able to establish a relationship with them in a way to where they understand that you are not trying to make this about you, right? But you have come to build trust with them, that they know that, hey, you are doing this for my good, even if I don't agree with it, right? Even if I don't understand or agree with the shot that you just called, I understand that you are doing this for my good, right? Or for when you at work, for the whole success, right? But that does come from a level of you, again, having to step back, having to be sure that the shots that you call with your team, that how you show up to work is not about you proving to yourself that you deserve the job, but it's more based upon you really you really want to align with the goals that are there and bring forth results. Now, this can be hard if you have a need for control. And I still to this day have to work on this, because very transparent moment, right? I for the longest time, I did not see myself as controlling. I saw myself as helpful. I know I'm not the only one, right? I did not see myself as controlling. I was like, no, I'm not controlling. I'm trying to help you, right? But it was coming off controlling, right? Especially if you needed help in the area that I'm like, I know I got experience in this, and I've already like done this like multiple times, and I was successful in it, child. I'm helping you. But if you have a need for control, right? Your need to control will blind you from everything else. It blinds you from you being able to be aware of yourself and the people around you. It will blind you from you knowing when to push or pull, right? It blinds you from all of that, right? And then sometimes as a leader, if you're not a leader, just overall, you need to learn how to let things naturally evolve and not trying to control not just the outcome, trying to control the way that outcome is, right? Or the way that that outcome comes through. You have to learn how to let things naturally evolve. You have to be able to let, not all the time, right? I'm going to say this, not all the time, but sometimes you have to let things play out, even if you know that this is not going to play out in the way that you know that it should. Because in the mistakes are lessons. There are some mistakes in lessons that can be learned through words, meaning that I sit down with you and I share my past experiences and you understand, right? And you take that advice and you run with it and you also avoid it. But there are sometimes, especially in the workplace, especially when you're having to deal with teams, that some things can only be learned through experiences, right? Again, but that's when you have to be able to separate your expertise from a mistake and let that mistake unfold. And once it's unfolded, you still feel sure about your expertise. Now, it's not saying that you can't learn from it, absolutely, but you have to come to a place to where it does not take anything from you. All right. And so when you have a need of control, you'll find yourself trying to force things, right? And you think that having direct authority is influence, and it's not, right? When you have influence, you can allow, it's like you don't just have people to do the task, but the influence is what makes them believe in the task. The influence is what makes them take upon the same mind that you have, the same vision that you have, right? And now it's not just people doing what you want them to do, but they have now learned your thought, like your framework of how you think about things. They've learned it, and they don't just believe in the task, they believe in you. And when your team believes in you, or the people that around you believes in you, it makes your results so much more impactful, right? Because it's not just about getting a job done. It's about you, for one, being able to bring forth excellence in what you do and being able to train the people around you to do the same thing. And many people can't do that because they are on an ego trip, because it's all about them, because it's all about, I want to shine, right? But when you get to a point to where you can have that authentic influence, you can now inspire a whole different culture, right? That the influence that you have can bring forth change that you never even thought was possible. And this is why I said you don't even have to have a great a high ranking role to do this. You don't have to have that. But when you start to know the power of influence and how it drives change, it can change a whole environment, a whole atmosphere, right? It's almost like, you could really position yourself in a way that it's like you're not just there to bring forth the results, but you can literally change the people that you work with. Now, there are some people that use their influence for bad, and there are some people that uses the influence they have for good, because there are definitely people that influence people in the wrong way, right? But when you know that you want to influence people in the right way, hey, I think that's a amazing thing. But it does take you not having control at times, because it's easier, because the only way that you get, influence is that you have to have a level of respect and trust. And with us humans, we will trust and respect somebody that does not act like they always have it right, or they get everything right. It's hard to trust people that they just make it seem like they know everything. I'd be like, don't smell right. And this is why when I'm on my live streams, I'm very open with you guys about if there's a topic that a topic that I myself is like still a little bit of a struggle for me, or if it's something that I've had experience in the past, I'm open with that, because I don't want you guys to think that I am trying to shout orders and say, do this, do this, do that. But I want you to know, friend, I've been there, or I'm currently there with you, and I am working on this with you. And I really believe, because I am transparent, it makes you trust when I'm saying more, because you know that I'm not saying this so I can look smart, but I'm saying it because I'm like, friend, this is possible, right? And you can take that same approach in your workplace. It's not about you knowing everything. It's not about you being able to get everything right, but it's about you being able to bring the people around you, right? Engage them in your expertise in a way that even if you're not the smartest person in the room, you will advance the fastest. Even if you are the one in the room who you don't have the most experience, right? You will grow the fastest. Your pay will grow the fastest, right? Because you are not trying to force things, but it is about you building something. And people know when you're forcing something and when you are building something. And so you being able to get to a level of success in your career that's going to feel good, it cannot ride on the back of you feeling like I always get everything right, because that's going to lead you to burn out. That's going to lead you to not being able to establish the boundaries that you need, because most cases when you feel like I have to, you know, when you feel like when you have to be the one that gets everything right, or the one who can do everything, right? That also aligns with you not being able to say no, because you feel like if I say no, that means I'm doing something wrong. But again, I don't do anything wrong, so I don't say no. Absolutely not. And I don't think people realize, people at work see when you are burnt out. They see when you run yourself down in the ground. They see it. Now, they may not say nothing because they are reaping off of it, but that's a whole nother live stream. They may not say nothing because they are reaping off of your exhaustion and your burnt out, right? But trust me, my friend, they see it, right? And I will say this: it's hard for somebody to respect somebody who does not respect themselves. I told you, if you are sensitive, log off now. It's hard for somebody to respect somebody who does not respect themselves. And when you are in that kind of position where you are even having to like again, it's not just about you having a team, but you are having to lead anything. And they see that you are driving yourself down in the ground. Don't give time, you know, as far as your friends and your family or whatever, when you have just put yourself to the point of exhaustion. They may not say nothing again because they are reaping off of that. But trust me and believe that they know in their mind, that is somebody that I cannot model. That shows a lack of respect because they see that you don't respect yourself. So sometimes you can find yourself being afraid to set boundaries at work and say no, because you feel like if I say no, then they'll feel X, Y, Z. And yes, they may be mad for a moment. Why? Because they are not able to get their way. And guess what? They're going to be just fine. But they will respect you, right? Because in most cases, you are able to do something that they can't do. And that a lot of times is what will get respect from the folks who you work with, because you are able to do something that they can't or won't do. And that is set boundaries. Now, it can be a very quiet respect, meaning they, you know, it may be something you never even hear them talk about, but trust me, they are going to respect you. And that respect will lead to influence if you are consistent in it. And it has the opposite effect of, you know, because again, we've been taught if you go to work and you do everything that these folks say do, girl, you shall rise. Lie. No. Mm-mm. Girl, when you at work, be quiet. Please keep your head down and don't you say nothing. You not speaking up for yourself does not gain the respect of nobody. Again, it may look like they love your drive. They love you being so engaged in it. Oh, it looks like they love it. But again, they are self-serving. They love it because they're reaping off of it. But when it comes down to who holds the actual influence, who can drive change, that's not going to be you, right? Because that level of respect is not there for you because you did not respect yourself. So I know people, especially us women, we can be very mindful of I don't want to come off a certain way because I know that they already feel like we are that way. Don't nobody have time for that, especially at the level of expertise that you are at. You are seasoned. You are not new in this, right? You are not at the point where you are trying to establish. The expertise is there. You are not at the point of trying to establish anything. You are at the point of now of trying to expand your expertise, not establish it. Because I get it. When you just starting out, you are establishing yourself. You have to bend a little bit, but when you're at the point of when you're at the point of expanding that expertise, it should not be. Now I'm not saying not to be self-aware of yourself and to be able to know how you may be perceived. Right? I'm not saying that because I think we all need that. That is called emotional intelligence. We all need that. What I'm saying when it comes to the how can I put it? Like when it comes at the expense of you, it should not be, well, I don't want them to think X, Y, and Z. Not when it comes at your expense of your health, of your mind, of how you're able to operate your expertise, right? Because again, we are about building. What are you building? Are you building up a name that you'll do whatever they say in regards of, they know that they can literally throw anything on you, even though this work is the things that they throw on you is not allowing you to learn any new skills. And it does not even drive you towards what you want. If anything, it keeps you distracted. It keeps you off focus. It keeps you off path. That's not serving you, and that is not how you get influence in the work. You get influence in the workplace when you first respect yourself and knowing that. Because I believe that you need to go to work and work hard. And I believe in operating in excellence. Excellence does not mean that you may do everything right all the time. I believe in doing and being able to operate in true excellence. And excellence for me is being able to do amazing work and feel good at the same time. And it does not come at the expense of you. And it does not drive you crazy. It does not allow you to lose yourself in your work. That's what I mean when I say operating in excellence. It's possible. But the question is, do you believe that you can have that level of success and you don't have to sacrifice? I've worked with so many clients since I was like that first call, right? Everybody has told themselves that they have to choose, right? So they already come in compromising or thinking that they have to, right? Now, I'm not saying that there are not seasons in your career where you may have to put in a little bit more work, right? Because there are certain seasons in your life where, in life and in work, that one may need more of you, right? And this is why I don't believe in the whole balance thing, because I don't think it needs to be a scale, work-life balance. And I used to say this a lot, but I was saying it, but I didn't have, and when I was saying that, I wasn't saying it in the context of what it's known as, meaning, because, we think about a scale, like if one side gets more weight, then the other side lacks, right? I'm a really big believer in like work-life alignment. It doesn't need to be in a scale. It needs to be aligned. So in the seasons where you may have to pour more in at work, your home life is fine, right? Because for one, you've already had the opportunity to serve that space as well. So if for a season, when I said season, I'm not saying a way, I'm saying a season. If for a season you have to give yourself more to work, your home life or you self is fine because you live in alignment to where these things know how to go through those flow and those ebbs because it's aligned, meaning that your home life is not starved, but it means that they are both fed well, meaning in your career and at home. So in seasons when one have to have more of you than the other, it's fine because you have aligned your life in a way to where you're not having to turn on and off all the time. You are in alignment in both spaces and they both feel good, and you don't feel like I can't be the mom or the wife or the friend or whatever if I want to have this. But that comes from a level of you being, again, aware of yourself, and it takes you being validated in both spaces. At work, right? I'm not here trying to prove the expertise that I have. Again, this is not you trying to establish anything, but it's about you trying to expand your expertise. And even at home, I'm not trying to prove that I am a wife or a mom. I am that. But now it's about me having to expand the love and that care, not trying to prove anything. So now that I don't live a life of me trying to prove to everybody in my life that I can be everything that I need them, that I'm proving to them that I can be everything that they need me to be, now I'm able to flow in and out of those things and stay in alignment because I know what I am building, not proving. But you feel like you wear a mask or as folks say all the time, hat, which I don't even like the concept that I have to wear a whole lot of hats bring because there's only one you, right? When you focus on I gotta wear all these hats, you're focusing on the hats, but the hats go on one head. The hats go on one head. And that's you. There's only one you. So you being able to say that I wear all of these hats. Now the focus is on how do I handle all of these hats, and it's not on how do you take care of you. That should be what the focus is. Because once you take care of you, you understand that I'm not wearing hats. I'm just being. But you can only be when you're in alignment. When you feel like you have to balance things off, you feel like, okay, you feel like at work, I'm a certain way. At home, I'm a certain way. With my friends, I'm a certain way. That's exhausting. You realize there are no hats. Now there are certain aspects of you, but there's just one you. I don't even like the term of I gotta wear all these hats because the focus is on the hats. You don't need to be on the hat because there's just one head, and we got to take care of that one head, or what I'm really saying is we got to take care of you, the one person that is operating at all of these certain capacities, because that is the core of all of those hats, right? And I don't and this is why I'm about holistic success. When with my clients, I'm like, no, it's about you being successful holistically, not you just out of the 6 hats you wear, only 2 is successful. Child, raggedy. Raggedy. There are no hats, my friend. It's just you, and it's all you. And all of these areas need to come into alignment. Spiritual life, mental life, physical life, your work. All of that needs to be in alignment with each other because they all should be feeding off of one another. And the reality is that they do feed off of one another. You just don't realize it. This is why when things at home are off balance and are all over the place, you can't show up at work the way that you want to. Why? Because it is not no hat, right? Because you are experiencing issues at home, which will allow you to not show up at work as you know that you in a way that you know that you can, and that will allow you to feel less than because you're like, I don't know why I can't show up at work and bring forth the results. I know that I can. It's because you told yourself that I'm not wearing a home hat no more. You said now I'm at work, so now I gotta wear this hat. No, but I told you it's just one you. So when things are off at home, it's going to show up at work. When things are off at work, it's going to show up at home because there it is no hat. It's just you, right? And so when you come into the reality that it is just you, it's just one you, it's going to make you focus on you. Because you know that once you take care of you, right, and you feel good about you can feel good about all of these other areas in your life because you understand that you affects how you show up in all of these different areas of life. Do not reduce yourself down to any scale or hats. You are not trying to balance anything, right? All of this flows from you. Oh, child, I don't know how I got over there. But if this live stream has been valuable, quick recap. we talked about the top 4 soft skills that you need as a leader. The first skill was you having empathy. Skill number 2 was you being able to take feedback. 3 was you being able to adapt. And 4 was you being able to have authentic influence. Do we have any questions? Any questions? So you guys know that this live stream, I'm so glad to hear that. This live stream, guys, you can find this on my channel on YouTube. You can find that me on YouTube at I am Alicia Perkins on YouTube. If you want to work with me one-to-one, let's talk. If you want to work with me in my group, and if anybody here on my group, y'all, I am getting ready to make some big things in that group. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. But and you can work with me in my group. Do you have any questions? Any questions? If you guys are now at a place to where you are ready to take your expertise, take you to the next level, let's talk. Because we are getting ready to go into 2024. And I've already told myself that there are some things in me that I cannot bring into 2024. And I have not been trying to wait until then. I've already been working on those things, right? Because how many know that there are some things that worked for a moment. There are some things that worked for a season. But it's like when you get clear on where you are wanting to go, you understand this can't come with me. Nope. I can't. So if you are ready to take your expertise to that next level, if you want to be able to even increase the impact that you want to make, because the clients that I work with, they really do care about the work that they do, right? My job is to make sure that you are clear about the work that you want to do, meaning that you are really operating in your expertise in a way that you really want to do. And I also make sure that you can operate in a way that it feels good, right? And you operate in a way that is going to align with the life that you want. I really think that is what allows me to stand out from other coaches, is because it's not just about you being a perfect fit, right? It is not only about you being able to make moves that makes other people comfortable. But I really believe in holistic success, being able to feel good about the work that you do and sure about the work that you do. And you move away from having to feel validated by anything else except yourself, right? I help my clients be able to gain that in their expertise, that they can be confident in it. And when you become confident in your expertise, right, you are able to bring about changes in your workplace and in the world that you never even thought was possible. But that comes from you being able to validate yourself, you being clear about the life that you want to live, and that the career that you have is going to get you there, right? So with my clients, even in my group, it is my goal to help people to be able to take control of their career, right? To operate in their career in a way that feels good, that is them being able to make the impact that they desire to make. If you want to find out more information about me, my website is IamAliciaPerkins.com. That's IamAliciaPerkins.com, or you can go in the link on my page and find out more. Okay, and also if you want to work with me, let's have a call set up so we can see if we are a good fit. So if you guys don't have any questions, let me go back and make sure I didn't miss any questions, because you guys know when I'm on this live stream, maybe I'm in this live stream, I don't always look at comments and questions. Oh, I do go live too, guys, every Tuesday and Thursdays. I go live on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I do go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am going to start going live more. I just stay in the know. Let me see. Okay, I'm good. All right. Well, we don't have any more questions. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.